and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest podcast you've never heard of just yet. This is the State of the Nerd Union. We have the entire pantheon of hosts here tonight. I am the nerd named Nips, the nerd of 1,000 opinions. Joining me from the west coast of Tennessee is the whitest black guy I know. This is Jared Maynard.
Hello.
Coming to you from my old apartment, Kenneth Ship.
What's up?
And coming from Podunk Town Nowhere, we got the Recycle Man, Trev Law, only guy I know who loves the Emperor.
There are more of us.
Yeah, there were more of you until Luke Skywalker blew up the Death Star. Anyway,
That's
Greg
easy.
France, the greatest musician I've ever heard in my life.
Hey.
And, of course,
All those
ladies
poor
and gentlemen,
engineers.
we got our guest host tonight. He is here, the director of X-Men The Last Stand, Kyle Nelson. He is with us tonight.
Brett Ratner!
Kyle, I'm told that you were a little upset about how we told everyone how you ruined X-Men and that Bryan Singer brought it back. But it's okay. Good vibes are happening.
That's good.
X-Men, Days of Future Past, you fixed everything you did wrong, so it's okay. We forgive you.
I don't.
Well, all right, moving on to our topic tonight. I can talk about X-Men again until about 40 minutes later when we start talking about X-Men again. We're talking about reboots and remakes. First thing, start off the question, why the hell are there so many reboots and remakes right now? Can anyone tell me that?
I can tell you that right now.
Can you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Specifically, it's because of money. Hollywood always wants a sure bet. They want a big tentpole movie every single year. Each studio does. And what better way to ensure a tentpole movie than a movie that has already succeeded? So you'll find some movie that did well 10, 20, 30 years ago. Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man, whatever.
Well, Spider-Man's more like 5 years ago.
Whatever. And you'll remake the movie.
That pretty much sums it up. Nothing else has got that.
There's not really a lot of original plots left anymore. People don't really write a lot of things that are overly interesting and good at the same time.
So not Twilight?
I mean, as much as it pains me to say this, the most original content you see in movies today is either coming from independent films or from adaptations of novels. And while I despise the Twilight movies, it is more original than many of the other tentpole blockbusters we've actually seen.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about that.
It's supposed to hurt, and you're supposed to be disgusted.
Well, I mean, but how can you consider something original? It's really just a twist on a previous concept that's been tried for 100 years.
What, the romance, blah, 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 forbidden.
With a
blah,
vampire.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Joss Whedon did it on Buffy like 10 years before.
Then there was, True Night or something like that. That was 10,
TV show?
15 years. Yeah. 10, 15 years before that.
Beauty and the Beast, like it's.
Oh, God.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
in essence, it's just a derivative of Beauty and the Beast.
But this is more of a tangent than anything, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about the yes or no question, like the good or bad? Do we hate prequels and reboots just flat out, or is there good? And all right, so explain why.
Well, let's discuss. I don't know what's the difference between a reboot and a remake.
That's a good question.
That is an excellent question, Zach.
All right, so what's the difference between a reboot and a remake? I'm seeing stress on Kyle's face. He's got an idea.
I'm not sure there's a difference.
No.
It's more like a PC stuff. Like it's a change in nomenclature from like the 90s into the 2000s. Like a remake is basically they're taking a concept that was done before and they're redoing it because they thought it was bad. And typically we're thinking of a reboot now as something that wasn't necessarily bad, but they're redoing it anyways.
Rebranding.
But it's all the same, really.
I always took a remake to be as something that was based off of one solitary piece of fiction, such as Psycho. Okay, Alfred Hitchcock directed one movie, Psycho. It was great. For some reason, 30 years later, someone decided we need to do this again with Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. And I'm not talking about
fantastic choice, really.
But I mean, really, that could be considered a reboot in and of itself because the Psycho franchise was an actual franchise. They made like 4 or 5 of those movies.
I forget about those.
That could have been looking toward restarting the franchise, aka rebooting it.
I mean, I do think though that we've kind of stumbled upon the difference between a remake and a reboot. Is that a reboot is intended to sort of restart an entire franchise,
Right.
whereas a remake is just intended to, unless they're planning on doing more Godzilla movies, I would say that would be a good definition of a remake.
They've already hired Gareth Edwards, and it's going to be about 4 years.
See, I feel like a remake though is more of you're telling the same story, you're just updating it a little bit.
Yeah, but in a sense, that's what a reboot is too.
Mm-hmm.
Great Gatsby.
I would call it a remake.
I would call that a remake.
Well, that's not even so much a remake because they weren't looking to the original. Well, maybe that's the difference is that one's looking at to the original content irrespective of the previous incarnation, just like the newest Great Gatsby was looking at the original book instead of the previous movie.
True Grit, the newer one with Jeff Bridges, that would be a good example of a remake because it sort of ignores the last movie, but it stays true to the original book that it's all based on.
Right.
There's no intent to create a franchise there. Whereas with Spider-Man and Planet of the Apes and so many
Captain
other
America.
things. Yeah. Oh.
There was a previous Captain America.
There was. Yep.
Magic motorcycle.
I actually made a list of them, and for some reason, of all the rebooted franchises, it's most prone to go to some kind of sci-fi or comic book or a horror franchise.
Oh, gosh.
Like, just name off comic book sci-fi franchises that have been rebooted, because I'm not going to get into horror details, because I don't think any of us care that much about horror, because they all suck.
Yep. Well, almost all of them.
There's like 10 good horror movies that have ever been made.
Yeah, like 90%
A little bit.
suck. And then there's a few jewels out there.
Uh-huh.
And maybe one day we'll have a horror podcast all about that, maybe in October. But till then,
For about
suck.
5
We're
minutes.
talking about
But
that.
honestly, most of those horror movies, they're not just horror movies. The good ones are also some other genre too. They're not just pure horror, like The Thing and
Event
Horizon are both
The
hardcore
Thing.
sci-fi. Those horror movies.
Truth. But for some reasons, comic books and sci-fi are just prone to getting rebooted. Such as The Punisher. It got rebooted twice.
Yep.
Batman is on its 4th film iteration coming out with a new one. But Batman vs. Superman, that's the 4th series of films.
We're not including serials, are we?
No, I'm not including the serials. I was including the feature film presentations because you get the Batman 1966 with Adam West, the Tim Burton Joel Schumacher version, Christopher Nolan, and now the Zack Snyder version. Hulk has been rebooted only once. Star Trek got the reboot.
No, Hulk has been rebooted 3 times.
Hulk?
Series?
I would not consider
Kind of.
a reboot of Hulk. I would just say it was a recast because they didn't ignore anything that happened inside of the Incredible Hulk film.
That's true.
Essentially, it was the same thing, but just different character acting.
Yeah.
Same thing as Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Planet of the Apes has been rebooted or remade, whichever way you want to say that, with the
Well,
old
actually,
Tim Burton
it's
film.
been both.
It was
Because
remade
Tim
once.
Burton, you could say, is a remake, and then the Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn, it could be the reboots.
Weren't you telling me, though, that it sort of went through a remake, reboot kind of thing?
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could consider Escape from the Planet of the Apes a reboot of the franchise as well, because it's keeping the continuity, but they're changing the setting completely and rebooting it as the apes in the present world as opposed to the humans of the past, or in the future.
So they Star Trek'd it before Star Trekking it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. All right, Captain America got rebooted once. Total Recall got remade. Spider-Man's been rebooted.
Oh.
Judge Dredd rebooted. Superman's been rebooted, I'd say 1.5 times. Is in return.
Wait. Which one is the 0.5 there? What does that have?
Return. It's kind of a reboot, but it's kind of a continuation of the first 2 films. It's just 30 years later. But it's kind of a reboot because it erases 3 and 4.
I thought you were referring to Man of Steel's Rotten Tomatoes score.
Well,
Okay.
it doesn't entirely erase 3 and 4.
No, it does, because
I went there.
everything from 3 and 4 is gone. Like, his mom's still alive. He was gone throughout those entire movies.
Oh, yeah, and also kind of the ending of 2, because the Fortress of Solitude didn't get blown up.
But so Fortress of Solitude only got blown up in the
Connor cut.
Donner cut, not in the Richard Lester version. Okay, continuing on. Ninja Turtles. It depending on if you count the animated movie as a fourth one in the original series,
I would.
it's only been remade once. RoboCop got rebooted. Jack Ryan got rebooted. And Godzilla, oh my dear Lord Jesus.
Yeah.
It's been
At
rebooted.
least 3 times.
No, it's been rebooted about 10. Because there was original Showa era from 1954 to 75. The Heisei era began in 1984 through 1995. And all of those pretty much ignored all the continuity of the previous ones except for the original 54. Same thing applies to 1999 through 2004, except all of those pretty much only acknowledge the first one and not any of the other movies in its own era. And that's about 4 movies right there. So that's 4 different reboots. And then you got the American one in 98 and the one that just came out a couple months ago.
Interesting tidbit that I did not know about this. Apparently, a Japanese studio hated the 1998 Godzilla so much that they made a movie in which the real Godzilla beat up the fake Godzilla.
That was the 2004 last movie that was produced by, what is it called? Anyway, it was Godzilla Final Wars, in which he fought all of his, pretty much it was the greatest hits of all of his, biggest enemies. And the battle against what they called Zilla, which they refer to as a tuna-eating buffoon, lasted about 30 seconds. They pretty much turned around, hit him with the tail, and hit him with the fire, and it was over. So, a lot of these are comic book movies. I mean, is there something about a comic book movie that's just going to, get prone to be rebooting? Because, I mean, these are characters that have lasted, in Superman's case, we're going on 70 years now. Batman, I think, just turned 75. I think Superman and Batman are both turned 75 this year and last year.
Yeah,
I mean, but it harkens to the comic books themselves. Like, they reboot them constantly. Or they start new series of them.
DC has rebooted their own franchises probably about 3 times.
Right.
Marvel...
At least twice in my lifetime.
I mean, all you've got to do is look at Captain America. Captain America is the perfect example of a reboot character and how that is inherent in comic book structure. Like, he's a World War II propaganda artist, and then as each decade goes through, he becomes a newer representation of what America is. And then eventually, the character actually changes. It's no longer Steve Rogers, it's Bucky. Or now, it's not Steve Rogers, it's Falcon.
Yeah.
Well, that's happening about in a month or two, as soon as, I think, Original Sin is over, the big event comic going on right now. Because there's going to have a lady Thor. Thor will no longer be worthy enough to be Thor. And apparently Iron Man is going to become the superior Iron Man. Which, I don't know what that means, but they said it is Tony Stark inside the suit. Anyway, but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's like these characters, they almost essentially get rebooted almost every time some new writer comes along. Mm-hmm. And they don't continue the last person's story. They come up with a new story on their own. And for the most part, they don't continue on what they were last writing about. With a few exceptions, such as like Peter Tomasi writing Batman and Robin, who's continuing on the Damian Wayne story from Grant Morrison's run.
And Daredevil, like in the 2000s.
You're from Ed Brubaker going from Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah, and then honestly, even going into Mark Waid.
Yeah,
And I also think that sort of because because comic books keep being rebooted, the fans not only are used to it, but they sort of expect it. Like any comic book fan who says, after maybe like 15 years, or even 10 years, or in Spider-Man's case, 5 years, of, there's a new Spider-Man franchise coming out. Well, a lot of comic book fans are going to go see it. Period. A lot of Spider-Man fans were going to go see that movie, regardless of if it needed a reboot or not.
Yeah, I mean...
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. In a lot of ways, these characters... We love these characters, and when you look at them in the movies, like we've been talking about how they get rebooted in the comics, but that's typical. Like you try to, as readership dips, you're trying to bring in more readers, so they're rebooting them to bring in more of an audience. With the movies, what ends up happening is they make a bad movie, or they make 2 bad movies, and like in the case of Superman, they make 2 bad movies, and they realized they were making good money, and they tried to reboot them to bring back the audience. And so comic book fans, we want them and we love these characters, so we want to see them even if it's going to be a new actor playing. Like with Tony Stark, we're going to see a new actor here sometime soon.
Well, you're kind of dipping into my next question.
I'm hoping Don Cheadle just takes over for him.
All right, Kyle. you kind of went ahead and just started getting into where my next question was going to be, which was why do we reboot franchises at all? Now, we've talked about the monetary value about rebooting franchises was sustained in continuing monetary value. I mean, they're blockbusters that get rebooted. It's not little artsy movies like Brokeback Mountain that get rebooted.
Or Road to Perdition.
Exactly. Although that movie was dang good.
God, it was so good.
Anyway, typically it's these typical blockbusters that get rebooted. Now, why should one of those get rebooted? And, when should you go about rebooting them? Because there seems to be discrepancies about, like, a lot of times people say, why did they reboot Spider-Man so quickly? Spider-Man was only 5 years apart.
Yeah, 2002, the first one came out, and 2007 is when Spider-Man 3 came out. So, yeah, 5 years.
There was only a 2 year difference between that and Superman, when Superman was 7 years apart between the '06 film and the 2013 Man of Steel. That for some reason no one cares. Man of Steel, it happened, only 7 years, 5 years. Apparently everyone's like, that's too soon for Spider-Man. And neither one of those movies coming out before them were particularly over-the-top critically acclaimed. Superman was doing better critically than Spider-Man 3 was, although even more people went to see Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, and though I think a lot of people did not like Spider-Man 3, as opposed to say Brandon Routh, a lot of the Tobey Maguire and a lot of the characters who were in the Spider-Man franchise, and Sam Raimi being a part of it, they were all loved characters and loved actors, and people loved seeing those people in those roles. So people wanted to see another Spider-Man 4 with those people running it, in a large part. Plus,
hush, Jerry.
3 was so bad, that they probably thought that the 4th one was going to be bad too.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm going to be of the opinion that unless a movie's core was good, but its implementation was bad, and just some elements of it was bad, that is the only justification for a remake. Even remake, reboot, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against remakes and reboots under any circumstances, but the vast majority that have come out, I am totally against. I find them completely unnecessary, and I think they cheapen both the original story and any new stories that could be told. Because how many of us have seen a truly original action movie come out?
Like when? What decade are you talking about?
This decade. How many original action?
And then how original do you mean?
The last one that I can think of was District 9.
I would say Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow was great, but it technically was off of a short story.
Oh, well, I retract that statement.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I asked the originality question, because I'm like, how far do you...
Yeah, because a lot of movies are derived from something else.
I'm talking about in movie format exclusively.
So it hasn't been in movie format. Then yeah, I'll say Edge of Tomorrow, Looper.
The Expendables.
Looper.
The Expendables counts.
That is not a good movie.
It's a good, bad movie.
It's enjoyable.
But that's really all that matters in the end. Is the movie enjoyable? Did we enjoy watching the movie?
Because we're going to watch it again if we did.
Like Pacific Rim.
Oh, yeah.
Still has...
That gave me everything I wanted. All I wanted was large robots and large kaijus fighting it out, and didn't care.
I've been on my diatribe about that movie before, about it's actually got a brilliant undertaking underneath it, subtly, but it has got monsters versus robots, and
darn it, if you need anything else.
By golly, I'm not going to lie, I didn't really need anything else, but I was glad it was there.
It's honestly anything we've ever wanted from a Transformers movie, and honestly anything I ever wanted from a Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Which we're going to be getting here in a year.
Guess what?
It's
getting rebooted. Yes. The writer of X-Men First Class, the guy who saved that franchise from Kyle Nelson's hands, is going to save Power Rangers.
And let's be honest, there is no way that the Power Rangers movie is going to be mediocre. It's going to be good or it's going to be bad.
It's honestly the only, I've been saying this for weeks, this is the only movie I want Michael Bay's hands on.
What?
I agree with Nelson on this.
But he's a racist.
No, yeah, exactly.
And the original Power Rangers, the Black Ranger was the black guy, and the Yellow Ranger was the Asian chick.
But let's be honest. Would the black guy have worn any of the other colors?
But you notice they try to fix that at the end of the first season. All of a sudden, they got a new Red Ranger, a new Black Ranger, and a new Yellow Ranger, and they all change races.
Yeah, and they mixed up the colors that one.
Like
they threw the Asian guy in the black suit because that made it better.
Yeah. They gave the most powerful Ranger the White Ranger.
Argue with that logic.
Let's just wipe out. Oh,
I'm not arguing.
Hey, there's been 2 black leader Power Rangers.
When?
Right.
Wait. No one cares after season 3.
No one cares.
No one cares after Ninja Rangers. That's it. It's over.
Yeah, Turbo was stupid.
Which Ninja Rangers?
The first ones.
The Ninja Rangers from the movies.
is actually really, really good.
Yeah, Tommy's back on that one too.
Yeah, he's the new Zordon.
And he's a break.
It was pretty cool, actually.
Actually,
And we just lost Kyle.
Trevor, which series are we talking about? Which Power Ranger series?
We are getting off topic.
We're still talking about remakes.
that's what Power Rangers.
Because Power Rangers, that's a great idea. Okay, Power Rangers is still going as a cartoon right now. Not cartoon, sorry. It's still going as a Saturday morning show on Fox or whatever the hell it comes on.
And it's sticking with continuity.
Is it Nickelodeon? No,
It's not Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
It actually is on Nickelodeon. They've had it for the
Okay.
last
Yeah,
4 years.
it's staying on Nickelodeon.
and next season, Tommy's going to be back. They've already filmed the whole big movie where all the Rangers from the past are going to come and punch stuff.
It's the
Together as a team.
It's the Ranger Wars or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be like 1,000 Power Rangers or something ridiculous.
I want to watch that.
It's a lot
That's
of
Are they fighting each other?
Right.
No, they're fine.
No, they're all fighting together as an army.
Can we watch this?
I want to watch this.
I've been trying to keep up with them on Hulu.
Because Power Rangers Megaforce, they turn into Super Megaforce, and they get the keys from the old Rangers, and they can transform into the old Rangers.
He's been paying more attention to it than I have been.
That's
Wait. They get a key and they can transform into Tommy?
No, just the Green Ranger or the original Red Ranger.
So are they going to be Tommy? Because like a chick can like just turn a key and turns into
No. It's just the Power Rangers' power.
I was about to say, is
So
it
like she
quantum
would
leap
get the
here?
Green Ranger armor.
Yeah, they'll appear in the
Okay.
Power Rangers
Can I have one of these keys?
Zach, can you bring us back to order here?
I don't even know what's happening anymore.
Lost us a childhood.
I'm just saying that, like, if you want to talk about reboots and remakes, Power Rangers is probably the best example. Because if you look at the original Japanese lore of that series, every single season was a new cast of characters. Every single season was a reboot, and it was just new characters inside the costumes. And all they did was they took all the Japanese footage and just filmed the white people running around in tight clothes.
They did, in fact, and I loved it.
And we got Bryan Cranston to voice the bad guy.
He was like 3. Bryan Cranston was 3 villains in the first season.
Wait, what?
What?
Did you not know that?
Bryan,
That's a thing
God,
that
you
exists?
He villains in the first season.
That's amazing.
All right.
they didn't know that.
I know way too much about that.
All right, so moving on.
I am the one who knocks down.
By the way, if anybody actually listens to this, they need to fact check everything that we say.
Yeah, no, we are not reliable.
We're facetious liars.
Sometimes I just make things up.
He was in fact one guy, and he wasn't the pig guy. He was just Jay Leno surprised him with it. It's on YouTube.
Just don't listen to Kyle. He'll just screw up the franchise.
Don't worry, we'll reboot the next time he can't join us.
Thank you. I need
No, we'll reboot him as the villain.
We will reboot the State of the Nerd Union on our next podcast to save it from this one that Kyle's trying to destroy.
We'll get him
How's
a
he trying to
Roku.
destroy this one? He's trying to bring us back to order. Order!
Okay,
I think
back
it's a better
to order.
example of reboots and remakes as a franchise with Star Trek, to be honest.
Yes. Although I would argue that the only reboot remake of Star Trek that's ever existed has been the J.J. Abrams version.
Well, no, you could say The Next Generation was a reboot and a remake.
Technically, the first
That is a
the second pilot episode of the original series is a reboot.
The what?
The second pilot episode of the original series is a reboot.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, that is actually 100% accurate.
Instead of Captain Pike being the captain of it, and they're all going for the intellectual vibe of satire and whatnot.
Serious and boring.
Yeah, they said it's too boring. We want more Captain Kirk running around shirtless and fighting the Gorn. And let's be honest, it was more awesome for it.
And half naked green chicks.
And you know what? I'm going to be looking for plenty of those at the Star Trek convention in 2 weeks. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking for a green girl.
Also, a lot of Vulcans. We'll be seeing a lot of those too.
I'm going to put one through Ponfar.
Yeah.
Drive her crazy.
All right. So.
Jerry's face.
We were so off topic. I don't even know where. Like, all my questions is how to get
I can't married in a month.
Yeah, that's the sex stops.
That just happened.
What about some creative ways that have made us appreciate a reboot or a remake in which we felt like we didn't get slapped in the face by money?
Rise of the Planet of the Apes, then. I'll give you that one. Because about 1968 and the different version that came out just a couple of years ago, the big thing I really enjoyed about it was how the apes took over. Because in 1968, it was all about nuclear war. It was after the nuclear war that apes were evolving and took over the whole entire world. Whereas in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it was biological warfare, which wasn't intentional at the beginning. Is how it turned out to be. That's how it turned out to be spread, was a biological agent got out there. That's one thing I greatly appreciated from it, was that it updated it.
Technically, yeah, but there was also a biological agent in the original with the plague that wiped out the cats and dogs, and that caused them to use simians as a replacement, which ended up turning them into slaves.
But is that in the movie, or is that in the
That was in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But that goes to my point that Escape and Conquest were reboots of Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes. After all, they did blow up the planet Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
So there was nowhere else to really
They
go.
need to reboot it.
To answer the other part of your question, Kenny, with this exact franchise, the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes felt like I got slapped across the face with a phallus. Because at the very end, he lands on Earth, and he sees the
General Fade statue.
monkey head.
No, Abraham.
Yeah, I was gonna make that joke.
The thing is, it was actually, if you looked at the statue, it was the same general that he just fought on the other planet that clearly wasn't Earth.
Fade, yeah.
And it makes no damn sense.
Well, it doesn't, but to be honest, I do think that the Tim Burton movie gets a bad rap because all the ape actors do a really good job.
I loved Michael Clark
Like,
Dunn.
Tim Roth is so good in that movie.
Like, everything's great. Like, I enjoy that movie extensively up until the last 5 minutes where I'm just literally left like, what the hell just happened?
It's like they didn't really know how to wrap it up.
No,
Yeah,
they didn't.
and they just
Literally, they
roll the
made
dice.
that up at the last minute.
Like, they called M. Night Shyamalan like, hey, man, what should we do? Twist ending.
What a twist!
But that also was a hallmark of the Apes movies forever. It was always about the twist. Like even in Escape, when you find out that the ape chimp is actually Milo, their child, it's because I just bought the movies, by the way, on Blu-ray, so I'm really refreshed on
It's
the.
all right.
But yeah, but if you watch the movie, it's obvious that this was like a twist for the sake of a twist because they're trying to make the chimp baby talk, even though they obviously are supposed to know that this chimp baby is a chimp, not their baby. So and did that specifically for a twist.
So, yeah, even when I saw that one, Escape, I didn't even think that was a twist ending because it was so obviously coming. Whereas, the original Planet of the Apes, yeah, we all see it coming, but as you're watching it, it's not so obvious up until that last moment when he turns around and it's the Statue of Liberty right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas the Tim Burton one, it's like, seriously, the only way they could improve that movie is if they had Ken Jeong in the audience going, gay!
There are two movies that I feel really, really did a reboot, if not perfectly, then exceptionally well. And they're both fairly recent. That's J.J. Abrams' Star Trek that came out. I don't like the direction they've taken the franchise, but if you're going to reboot a movie, that is a perfect way to do it.
Pretty darn good job.
And the other one is a movie that has come out recently that everyone here loves, and that is Days of Future Past.
Wait, hold on.
What would that be?
Whoa, drop one out. Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep, Batman.
Because
Well, now wait, didn't Batman Begins come out in 03?
05.
Yeah.
That was 05, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me why I have all those memorized and committed to memory.
I made a
We
list.
know.
I was a senior year in high school. That's how That's how I remember that one.
That's
But
how I remember
Dark
too.
Knight.
what?
Never mind.
Oh,
Saw
Batman-
it 8 times in the theater.
I saw it 4. So yay! I'm half as nerdy as you are.
Precisely.
Okay,
And
well,
all
we
things
can measure our pocket protectors later, guys.
Okay.
Mm.
Touche.
Yeah.
Continuing on, trying to put this thing back on topic. Here's a good question for you guys. How long between a franchise's end and its next origin should you wait to reboot? How long between one series ends and another begins should you wait?
Never.
Never.
We talked about it earlier because people were pissed off about the Spider-Man being only 5 years apart. Superman was 7 years. No one seemed to care. But how long should you wait?
I guess I wouldn't have minded the Spider-Man reboot so quickly if parts of the old franchise were going to be continued, and to have the origin story redone so quickly. Because when did Amazing come out?
Amazing came out in 2012.
All right, so I mean, there's a 10-year difference between that and first Spider-Man, but it still felt like it was pretty quick. Even like we were saying before, we still enjoyed parts of Spider-Man 3, even if the entire movie went completely downhill.
I love the dance sequence.
I'm sure you did.
Look, I'm bad now.
Emo
bad
Spider-Man dancing down the street, yeah! Continue on, Kenny.
You're that guy from Panic at the
I mean,
Disco.
I would argue it really just depends on the type of reboot that we're talking about. If we're talking about rehashing the same story that we watched before, which was what we did with Amazing Spider-Man, then you need to wait a while.
Mhm.
If we're talking about just rebooting it in a way that either you're following the same characters but with a different cast, or if you're following new characters but with the same premise, you can do that at any time.
Yeah.
Like once, yeah, or I mean, once again, to my point about the next generation being a remake or reboot, however you call it, because that's all it is. It's taking the original premise of the original series and then redoing it with a new cast.
But that was still like almost.
But it's a straight up continuation of the old tale.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does take the canon into effect, but for the purposes of everything else, it's a remake.
No, I mean, it's completely different. It's the difference between a remake and a reboot is, or frankly, the difference between a remake and a sequel, or a sequel series set in the same universe, is you've got completely different characters. The only character in the first episode of TNG that was in the original series was Bone.
Yeah.
DeForest Kelly, and he was in it for like 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, and then they had relics.
Spock and Sarek.
And Spock showed up
And
for a
then
2-episode story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kirk was in
And Sarek
Generations.
was in 2 episodes.
That was actually really cool. But the point is that this is not a remake, though. This is a sequel. This is a continuation.
Well, I mean, even though respect is still canon, it's still in effect a remake. Because, I mean, the 09 Star Trek, if you take that into effect, then the 09 Star Trek isn't a reboot or a remake. It's just a continuation of the story.
I like to call that
Which
sequel.
is why I liked it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was a continuation of the story. Because Spock changed the timeline. Spock and Nero changed
Well,
the
it's a
timeline.
continuation of the timeline for Spock. So everything that has happened because Spock is still alive.
Okay, but for practical purposes, though, you walked into that movie not knowing that. So what? Like, when you walk into that movie, you don't know that it's any of those things. You assumed it was a remake of the original
Incorrect.
series.
If you read the comic book tie-in, you knew that was exactly that.
And I've
In
been...
the first 5 minutes, they say, "Where is Ambassador Spock?" and they show a hologram of Spock, and you're like, "Oh crap!"
And
You didn't know that, though.
Paying
Like,
very close attention to the movie news, and I I knew
Pretty
that.
much,
I
if
hadn't
you
heard
aren't one of us and you know you're starting nerddom. So for like all those people I was working with at Best Buy, like there were hot girls who were like, "Oh, I want to go see Star Trek." For them, it was a shocker.
Mhm.
But
And
those are people who aren't in love with the franchise. Those are people who are looking for the blockbuster of the summer.
I think they're called normal people.
Exactly.
I wonder what that feels like.
People with lives.
I've never known. I'll never
I
know.
don't get it either.
I'll never know. Maybe when I move out of my parents' house, I'll find out.
Probably wouldn't have said that.
Are you still living in the basement?
No, I'm living on the second floor. Okay, it's all mine.
Upgraded.
Well, that is nice.
I'm not gonna lie, it's wonderful to move out. It's great.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it.
Mm.
But
Anyway.
you live here, Trevor.
Let's move on beyond like the topic of how bad my life has gotten the last 6 months. So moving on.
We love you, Zach.
Thank you, guys. So, did we come up with the idea like how long a franchise should wait? Because I mean, the average here seems to be 5 to 7 years, or about 4 to 8.
I think they hit on the key point, though. It's like you're rehashing the same story, though. Like, the difference between Spider-Man and Superman is that between Superman Returns and Man of Steel, was not rehashing the same story. Spider-Man and then The Amazing Spider-Man was rehashing the same story.
It had been almost 30 years since the original Superman origin story
Exactly.
on screen, whereas Spider-Man was only 10.
Yeah.
And then you look at other stuff like, here's a fun one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, we knew it was coming.
I think our problem with that isn't so much that it's being rebooted, because there's been 3 cartoon series. It's who's involved in this one.
Yeah.
3 cartoon series and 1 live action. You can't forget the Next Mutation featuring Venus de Milo.
Yeah.
That
Can't forget that one.
happened.
Crossover episode once again.
Power Rangers!
So good.
Everyone forgets about that.
We can't escape it.
How to escape Power Rangers tonight.
Kyle, do you have any more liquor in here?
I'm just saying, like, this one is gonna be an origin story. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, it's already in one of the trailers. They showed like little Raphael sidekicking, as a
And don't forget
Baby
Monk
turtle.
being all splintery.
Yep. Oh, turns out White Dude is not the Shredder.
Well, that's still up in the air, but yeah, based on the newest trailer, I would imagine that's
Well, I
correct.
read an interview with the director yesterday, and they said that you see the Shredder in one of the shots, and it's a different guy, and it's not sex.
It's
Trevor,
a
is that a
Japanese dude.
knife?
His face is all like veiny. There's a screenshot of it on the internets. I meant to show you that last time you were up here, but I forgot.
Yeah. So, okay. That gives me a little more hope in the franchise, maybe. If it's got the same origin, like he's a ninja, and they're ninjas, it makes sense as to why they're ninjas.
No Casey Jones. That's all I need.
No, dude, you forgot. Like, they're following the Marvel method. That means Casey Jones has to have his own spin-off film before he's allowed to come into their franchise and create the super franchise of Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
and
because-
Casey Jones.
In case
See,
you
this is
can,
my way of saying cut it.
for the people that can't see it at home, Kyle just gave.
No need to explain.
I have been ignoring whatever
Audio.
Trevor's been saying for the last 5 minutes. It's
Know what
okay.
happens with our hands.
Because the Ninja Turtles is going to be awesome, okay? I'm just letting Trevor know.
But I did it the other time. So it seems like quality is the big key. If you do the reboot, regardless of the time, if you do it well, we're going to go watch it and we'll be like, okay, you story. There might be little problems like Days of Future Past. Yeah, we know there's some timeline issues because technically you've got
A little bit of timeline issues.
I'm saying forgivable timeline issues because the story was so well done and well executed that we let it go. There's going to be some people that are butthurt about it and won't let it go. But for us, we're like, okay, you did a good job.
Plus, it helps that the movies that it disregards are the movies that sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the Wolverine. The Wolverine was really good.
No, the Wolverine was really good, but
Oh, wait, that's the Japanese one, right?
it
Yeah.
didn't really disrespect the Wolverine.
Because the Wolverine...
It takes place in between X3 and Days of Future Past, so the whole issue of his adamantine claws isn't really in effect because he's got Magneto palling around with him. He could have given him adamantine claws again.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the Wolverine was good.
Yeah, Wolverine was good.
But to back up what Kenny was talking about earlier about quality, you look at James Bond franchise.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much, it sucked for a little bit. You had Roger Moore in there, and they kind of brought it back with GoldenEye, and then it sucked again with the last two movies like Die Another Day, which came out in 2002, and only 4 years later in 2006, boom, reboot Casino Royale, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, you had a long time since they started from the start.
Yeah. But then again, like he's never had that was closest to an origin movie he's ever had.
Right.
But I think the mechanism that was always been established in the James Bond universe is that any actor that they pick can come in and just pick back up and be another spy thriller and it'd be fine. So for that franchise,
that's the thing. It's very rare. Like a couple of the James Bond movies sort of connect, but the vast majority don't. They are self-contained stories
Like the
about
first
a British spy and his wacky shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like the first five, number 7, number 6 is on its own, and then like none of the other ones touch that except for like number 11.
yeah.
And so it's just its own its own weird thing. It's just a British spy thriller that just so happens to the main character just so happens to have the same name.
I mean, this is the main thing about remakes and reboots. Like, this is something that is inherent to just the art form of performing arts. Like, Shakespeare has written his stuff how many years ago?
He died in 1606.
And how long have we been performing his plays? With different cast members, with different settings, with different types of dialogue. Like, this is something we've done forever.
Spider-Man is not Shakespeare.
Well, yeah, but they have also done things with non-Shakespearean plays as well.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Shakespeare, The Lion.
Are there any 200-year-old plays that we constantly redo?
I'm
Can
sorry.
anyone think of some?
I'll talk for The Lion King. What'd you say?
Are there any, aside from people who were just an exceptional, once-in-a-century quality individual, is there anyone else that we constantly remake and redo?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can got all the different types of operas that have been played, like Vivaldi,
Yep.
Words, The Magic Flute by Mozart.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
But once again, all these are people of exceptional
Well,
quality.
yeah, they are of exceptional quality, but that's the difference between those and now is that we didn't have cameras back then to capture the original performances.
Yeah.
But even
All we
still,
have is
look at
words.
most classic literature just keeps coming back over and over again. I mean, they made a Frankenstein movie this year. It's like there's always going to be that one exceptional story from that era that's going to propel itself throughout the ages.
But that's my point. So many of these stories aren't exceptional. They may be good, they may be entertaining, but they're not exceptional. Spider-Man is a great story. I love that character. He is amazing. He is not so exceptional as to require a reboot in a decade.
We kind of have to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah. Because, I mean, this is a character that's been around for the better part of
Since the
a
60s.
century.
Yeah, half a century.
50 years. They came out in 1963.
I mean, and then you take Superman and Batman, who's been around even longer.
75.
Yeah, and these are characters who continually being rebooted. There's obviously something there, because I'm telling you, they have yet to make a movie about the Elastic Man. Or Blue Beetle.
Currently,
And if they did, it was probably a
on
porn.
I've been studying up on Joseph Campbell's book, Hero with 1,000 Faces, in preparation of me and Kenny's final epic battle of the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, I've been skipping schoolwork to study for that one.
No, I want in on that.
What's that? No, everyone will get on that. That one. This is the little
Super mega
preview.
podcast.
It's gonna happen, everybody. We're gonna record that one. Listen to that one. It'll be amazing. I'll defeat Sent and Kenny soundly, or I'll just go home crying. One or the other.
Now you're going to be going home crying.
Well, we'll
No,
find
he's
out.
gonna be
Anyway,
going home
going back to Joseph Campbell, who George Lucas studied when he was writing the Star Wars trilogy, because initially he was writing it, and he had read it before in college, and realized that a lot of what he had written was falling in line with what he called the hero's journey, was already in his book. So he went back and restudied it. Joseph Campbell, in writing that book, went back and studied Shakespeare and even earlier history. Essentially, ever since the dawn of time, we've told the same story over and over again, the hero's journey. The question of who are we and what makes us special. More importantly, how does one ascend beyond that to make something of themselves in that story which tells of its culture and its time.
Story of the human journey.
So look at Superman. 1938 was when it came out. What was going on in the 1930s? Kyle, you're the history major. Just go and say
Jews wanted a space messiah. That's
exactly.
That's what Superman is.
Well, I don't know if they wanted a space messiah.
So what happened?
That's what I get.
The greatest story ever of an immigrant who was fleeing a destructive place that he lived, coming to America, and living the American dream and making something of himself. That's what it initially comes down to, and that's something that still goes on to this day.
I do think it's so weird, though, that so many of the stories that we tell of the hero's journey, that the hero is an orphan. Just think that's really weird. I think that's very... What do you mean? What?
There's actually a chapter in there about that, about how a lot of the times the hero has to lose his mentor in order to move beyond it, because you have to be set with this.
No, I mean, I get that, but so many of these mentors aren't their parents.
Oh, yes. Pendragon, for example.
Yeah. And so I just think it's odd that, like, Superman, orphan, Batman, orphan, Spider-Man, orphan, Wolverine, don't even know his past, probably an orphan.
He actually killed his biological father after, in the same night, his biological mother, I think, killed herself.
Well, see, orphan. So...
But I mean, a lot of that has to do with just the sociological aspect of they're the downtrodden. And so what's more heroic than someone who's of that downtrodden, unattached society coming through and trying to save society?
But I think a lot of it just comes down to conflict from the storytelling perspective of someone who comes from essentially nothing as a child. That's everything. Your family is essentially everything as a child. That's all you have. I mean, they are your means of existence. Like, they take care of you, provide for you, and all that. And then once you have nothing, it's their way of propelling beyond that. Yeah, Bruce Wayne has like bajillions of dollars once he turns 18, but from an actual, that doesn't mean anything to a 6-year-old.
But each of those characters had somebody who took them in. Like, they had somebody who brought them in and took them into their own family as another significant aspect of their stories.
Mon Pa Kent, Alfred, or Ra's al Ghul, as you know.
Ben.
And Uncle Ben.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just it feels
Moses.
Don't get me wrong. I do not want
seriously Moses.
Jesus. Out there.
Yeah.
I love comic book movies. I love comic books. I love the characters, but they are not worthy of this constant level of reboots we keep giving them. They're not worthy of that. Now, maybe it's because there's 15 billion movies coming out and I just get overloaded, but I do not see the quality and the depth of storytelling that I would see in, say, Henry V.
Yeah, but that's systemic of the movie industry as a whole, though. And it's getting wrapped up inside that.
Exactly.
But I would have to say, like, a lot of the quality in some areas has been getting a lot better. Like, you remember the fear I had when we walked out of Thor: The Dark World, and obviously it wasn't bad, but we were kind of like, but what happened during that movie? Like, Thor was great, Loki was great, but I didn't really feel excited when I walked out of that movie, as compared to when Cap came out and Days of Future Past came out. I'm like, wow, where did this quality come from that had been missing for like the last year and a half? Godzilla surprised me. Edge of Tomorrow surprised me. I think the quality can still be there, and we can still see it advance and still see it go. But crap, I lost my train of thought.
I had another thought that came along with the midst of that. You still have the same story of like superheroes and things like that getting told from like the dawn of time. Like, you have things like Gilgamesh and Hercules and all these ancient heroes that we're still telling stories about that weren't real, but we still tell these stories even to this day.
They remade Beowulf like 5 years ago. Or 10.
Hercules is coming out.
Hercules, The Rock.
Actually, Hercules has come out twice.
But you have them
this year.
You have them in books, you have them in video games, you have them in movies, you have them in everything.
But it's a story we've always told. It is the hero's journey because all of us want to be that. It's just something innate in us that all of us want to be on Tatooine looking at the binary star system with the music playing in the background with John Williams, wondering what's out there for us. What can we do about ourselves? When is my life going to change? And then doing that and blowing up the Death Star.
It's true.
I'm cool with all that.
Wait, was that
There's
Game
more
of
than
Game of Thrones, everyone, the 8-bit version.
I am cool with all that. It's just, if we're going to tell the hero's journey, could we at least mix up the characters every few years at least? Could
So
we
we
get
want
some?
an Aquaman movie until the next Superman movie?
I'm sure an Aquaman movie would be fantastic. Yeah, it won't
If
be.
Jeff Johns writes it, yes.
Actually, to hit the Aquaman note, they have said that the guy playing Khal Drago is
Yep.
going to play Aquaman in Batman v Superman.
Yep, I'm really excited about that.
Or as he will basically be Namor. But yeah, no, it'll be great.
Yeah. Poseidon.
But isn't that essentially
We'll never
Aquaman
get to see a good Namor,
That's
so
Namor.
might as well see a good Aquaman.
That's touche.
What?
Said we'll never get to see a good Namor because Fox has the Fantastic Four, which also has Namor.
Yeah.
And the Inhumans.
Oh, the Biff of Hollywood.
The Biff.
And so many of the awesome space bad guys, like the Skrull. You're
Is that what?
Oh, speaking of remakes and reboots, what about the new Fantastic Four movie coming out that everyone's been hearing about from the Chronicle?
I will
What's
not
his name?
describe that one.
Hank?
Not that I even liked the last three of those movies.
Oh, there is one, 1994.
Fantastic
The
Four
Fantastic
could only ever be.
Fantastic Four.
The best version of Fantastic Four was on Arrested Development.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That would be amazing.
Would
I would
be.
totally see that.
That happened.
Yeah, no, it was,
Hey, like, I
This
would
is
want
the thing.
Movie. Like, I want them to actually make that movie.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
with Tobias
Better than
Fugate.
is it Joshua Tank?
It's that in show play was just the same amount of budget as like the '94 version.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah.
They didn't even release that one. It's on YouTube.
No, they put it. They made a movie just to hold on to the rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're a
It
bully.
is what Biff do. That's how a Biff do.
But dude, this new movie, it's supposed to be a found footage one. Because apparently that's how this guy makes movies.
You're kidding.
No,
Yeah.
he said like they've already said that that's what he does. So it's probably going to be a found footage movie.
I
And
mean,
it's going to
yeah,
be about.
he did
it's
the
for-
Chronicle movies, but
I'm sorry, no. What?
You're
Please
joking,
explain
right?
to-
No, Fantastic Four, whichever one's coming out soon, by the director of Chronicle, is going to be made in the same vein as Chronicle. Dark, gritty, found footage, teenagers discovering powers and trying to make a normal life.
no.
Is this confirmed?
This is everything I've read in multiple. This is everything I've read in multiple interviews about this movie. Every
All right,
time
someone
they're like,
else
"Is that
look it
gonna
up,
be
'cause
able
I
to
can't
happen?"
look it up.
They're
That's
like,
gotta be a
"No,
lie."
It's not even close to it, man.
Oh my god,
I do know that.
that can't be real. That,
I do know that. What's her face? She was in House of Cards. She's playing Sue Storm. She was told not to read the comics. It came out this week in an interview. She was told not to read the comics because it wouldn't really have a basis on the
The
previous
young hot
comics. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What? So
This
the
is
best
really
way to
happening.
make the movie is to not base it off of anything that's ever.
I'm just really hoping Mole Man's in it.
Who?
At this point, I just want to see Mole Man on screen.
Oh, of course. Who ever get an appearance?
oh my god.
I'd rather see Fing Fang Foom in this movie.
It's Kate Mara. Kate Mara is
What?
playing Sue Storm.
What is Fox thinking?
But see, that's the problem with your sentence right there. You put Fox
Hey,
and
why don't
King.
you make like a tree and
Get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Oh, okay.
You corrected it.
Doing that. I'm sorry.
All right, hey Zach. Maybe this is what Fox is going to do with Fantastic Four. Like in the Ultimates right now, maybe they're actually going to go straight to Galactus, and he's going to eat that whole entire shitty universe, and then they're just going to sell the rights over, to Marvel Studios, and then Galactus will come over and they'll have to fight.
And that's really the funny part. This
Like in the
whole
comics.
time, the reason why they were trying to get, they were negotiating with Fox. They were going to try to let them keep Fantastic Four, but all they wanted out of it is they wanted Galactus, and they wanted some
Daredevil negotiations. It wasn't for Fantastic Four. They were said you can keep Daredevil, but we want Galactus and a few other celestial style beings for later down the line in the Avengers series, which I'm guessing is whenever they face Thanos, they wanted Galactus and others to appear.
Yeah, because I wonder if Uatu is a part of the Fantastic Four.
I would guess the Watcher is. And
Yeah.
he's not going to show up in a dark, gritty, teenage, found footage piece of crap superhero movie.
We don't know that.
Why not?
Yeah, why not, Zach?
He could be
Because Chronicle was so awesome.
Actually, I like the Chronicle. It's just
the first one was
Okay,
pretty
the Chronicle was okay, but it's not, it's not a comic book
the
movie.
problem with found
Honestly,
footage movies is like they're not
It's
rewatchable.
okay. It'll just get rebooted in 4 years.
Nope.
Here's the
Haven't
thing.
watched Super 8.
Here's my main problem with with his direction going for it, is he's trying to do this what everybody was doing 8 years ago. 8 years ago, everybody was on the dark, gritty reboot thing. Like, hey, we're going to make everything dark and gritty. We're, Spider-Man dark and gritty, Superman dark and gritty, Batman dark and gritty. Everything was dark and gritty. Now, ever since Avengers came out, we're kind of on the let's put on some spandex and fight crime and punch and wow. And, we're going to have a little bit more camp and a little bit 5 years behind on this. So what they tried to do in 2004 in their Fantastic Four movie when everybody else was dark and gritty, he's trying to switch and now do dark and gritty when everybody else is fun.
Well, yeah, but that's also following the standard flow. When you have a movie that's super campy, your result is to be not that way, and so you make a super dark one. So you can see 66 Batman versus 1989. You can see, Batman and Robin versus Batman Begins. Now you can see Fantastic Four 1 and 2, and now this third one.
Fantastic one.
He said Batman and Robin. I don't know what that is. It there's a blank in
No,
my
no, no,
mind when he.
Kenny, you
can't
have
ignore
to
it.
remember the Alamo, okay? That is the Alamo for comic books.
We haven't talked talk about our favorite Batman.
Think about it.
And I do think Batman and Robin is definitely underrated.
I don't know. I do think of the original Thor that it's definitely Batman Forever.
What was
Batman Forever.
Of Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and
That's
Batman and Robin.
underrated.
Batman Forever. That's it.
Actually, yeah, I have to agree with that.
I got to get Joel Schumacher that.
That's the only good one?
No, it's the Alamo. Wait, yeah?
No, the Alamo is that one I don't remember.
No, the
Oh.
Alamo is Batman and Robin because it's the greatest defeat of comic book movies. It almost ended all of it, and through remembering it, X-Men changed everything.
Diamonds make things cold. That's my biggest problem with the movie.
I mean, you would think since you're focusing light through it that it would get hotter like
Yeah,
a magnifying glass.
I thought that's how that worked.
Hey,
Even as a
never
kid,
leave home without the back card, okay?
Diamonds.
Never leave home without the back card.
All right, quick side note though, I really wish I could have seen a Nolan interpretation of Mr. Freeze because I felt like that would have been awesome. I know it wouldn't have fit into the trilogy he set up, but if he could have made another movie later on and then have done
I could have
that,
seen
I
him
think it
doing
would-
Poison Ivy as some kind of
Biological.
Eco-terrorist.
eco-terrorist.
I had actually heard rumors that, supposedly she was in a super early draft and then scrapped
Okay.
Like,
of 3.
that's actually one of the things I'm more excited about having a non-Nolan Batman franchise is that we can get to see some of these more fantastic
Like the Man-Bat.
superheroes. Yeah, like Man-Bat.
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 I'm rooting for the Sewer King. I want to
Clayface.
see. I want to
Or
see.
Killer
Of course
Croc.
you are.
Killer
Ah.
Croc. Clock King. Maybe
Oh,
Eggman.
yeah.
Eggman.
Or honestly, we could actually start pulling villains from Batman Beyond to Blight.
I don't know what the show
I-
is.
Yeah, dude,
Oh,
you get to get there.
Ooh, Clayface.
Clayface would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could have a Batman Beyond series.
Oh, I
That'd
know.
be great.
There's
That's what they
actually-
need to
Actually,
do.
that movie was in the works in the early 2000s.
That's exactly what I was trying to
Okay.
say. Between 97 and 04 or 05, they did 6 different treatments of what they were trying to make, and that was part of it.
Oh god, that would have been so bad back then.
It would be so cool now.
It would be cool now.
Cool now to look back and drink while watching and be like, man, that was bad.
But at least if they had made the movie, they could reboot it.
Or they could so thoroughly trash the franchise, no one would ever want to touch it again.
Like Green Lantern.
Now that brings up a
Sorry,
good point.
Jerry.
Movies that need to be rebooted. Movies that need to be
There we go.
rebooted. Which ones? We're going saying it. Green Lantern with The Rock.
Okay.
Really?
John Stewart.
I could do it.
Green
Yeah.
Lantern. The
No.
Rock.
No, actually,
Jerry,
like,
you're in denial.
do y'all remember
Green Lantern,
back in the
John.
day when they were going to make the Justice League movie? When I say back in the day, like 07, 08,
Yeah.
and they had like already cast everybody for it.
Who do they have for Green Lantern?
They had Common cast as
Yeah.
Green Lantern. He actually would have been really good.
Who's Common?
The Rock
He's
comes
a
in.
rapper, but he's rapped a few times.
He's an actor.
He definitely had the look of it down.
Yeah.
Of a John Stewart.
Yeah, he's
Green
in.
Lantern?
If you've ever seen Hell on Wheels, he's one of the main guys in that.
Which one is he?
He's the black one, the black guy, the main one.
There's,
With the beard.
okay, thank you. I was
He's
like,
the
there's like
black-
15 black guys in that.
The Rock one.
It is a very diverse show.
Yeah.
Hold on.
The coolest,
out.
the most important one.
Hear me
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Yeah. No, that would have been awesome. Yeah, I would
Hear
have
me
been
out.
very cool. with
Look
that.
at the Fast and the Furious franchises before The Rock and after The Rock. He could do that to the Man of Steel franchise.
He could totally do that.
He
Just
bumped
turn
him
it
up
around.
$200 million.
And he
Per
had
movie.
he
Like,
attached
it was
to a comic
ridiculous.
book
He
franchise.
could drop
Yeah.
the people.
Why not make The Rock Hawkman?
No, because he's the Green Lantern.
Light versus dark.
Kenny's thinking about it.
I'm just saying. Or Martian Manhunter.
Actually, he was for a while discussing about being Shazam.
Shazam is no.
I can see him doing that.
Shazam and Black Adam. He was going to play them both.
I don't mind Shazam as a comic book character or an animated series, but in film, he would confuse the audience so much.
Yeah.
Like, why is
And you need a Patrick Warburton jaw for that. And who's got that?
He could be Black Adam though.
Or could we get
He
a
could be Black Adam. Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
The Rock is Black
we get
Adam?
a younger
That's
Patrick
what I'm saying.
Warburton?
Is that he was actually in discussions to play them both.
Okay. We're going off track.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Greg
Movies
just
that need to be rebooted.
would be a great series that needs a reboot, which they're actually doing right now.
Which is
Stargate.
And I really hope, I don't know what their sort of take on it, their opinion on it, but I would really love it if they respected the SG-1 series. I was a huge fan of it, huge fan of the movie. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, more than likely they're not going to reboot it because Roland Emmerich has been outspoken at how much he loathed the TV show.
That's just, what did he not like about it?
Everything, and that he wasn't involved with it.
Oh, is that the real reason why?
Probably, but, you know.
So
Kinda like-
Battlefield Earth is out for remake?
Because that needed to be remade.
Well, technically, apparently, if it was so god awful, we got to remake it.
But the core of the story has to be good.
Oh, okay. So Scientology, no good. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, if Scientology is the core of something, unless it's a movie making fun of it, then it's generally not going to be good.
Like the episode South Park Trapped in the Closet, best episode ever.
That is, and in fact, but I personally prefer Cartoon Wars. But that's just me.
that was pretty funny.
Both amazing episodes.
Imagine it.
Really not there.
So, personal favorite of mine.
Is that Battlestar remake still happening? Where Glenn Larson wants to ignore the reimagined?
And Bryan Singer's attached to it.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Just to finish things up tonight, everybody hit me quick. Best remake reboot. What remake reboot saved its franchise? Did the best job of putting it back on the right track to make a quality series. Kenny.
That begins.
Dang it!
Kyle.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a resounding yes.
I'm actually going to say Days of Future Past, simply because the X-Men franchise was in danger of becoming a gigantic mess because Fox was going to keep making them. So, like, as bad as the Batman and Robin movie was, that franchise simply would have died, whereas X-Men would have gone on being a Frankenstein's monster of a mess. Yeah.
All right. Just
Justin,
begins. I'm gonna say Planet of the Apes. Good.
I hate you all.
What? You know,
You know you want to say Transformers 4.
I haven't seen Transformers 4, thank God.
You know, surprisingly, I actually thought Mark Wahlberg was going to make that better.
Ooh,
Oh man, was
bad
that
move.
wrong?
Bad move.
I still haven't seen it yet.
know
So
as much-
I'll jump on the Batman Begins
I don't want
bandwagon.
2.5 hours of my life being spent watching Transformers 4.
Ugh.
Jerry, what do you think? What's your favorite reboot?
I'm gonna let Kenny go first before I don't steal his answer. First of all,
Well, he already
Yeah,
said
I went ahead and said Batman Begins.
okay then. I'm gonna go with Casino Royale because up until
Ah,
Good
hey.
choice, Jerry. Very good
up until
choice.
that point, I was not excited about James Bond movies, and then I saw that, and I've seen all of them since then.
All right. And anybody got a worst example? Like, what's the worst thing that's been produced? You remade that, rebooted it, and no one understands why.
The 1998 Godzilla. It's just a piece of utter garbage that takes a massive pile of crap on the original.
Huge steaming load.
Like,
The Star Trek Into Darkness count?
we can put that.
Yeah,
in there.
since
It's
they
part of that
remade
rebooted franchise.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Basically remake Star Trek 2, so
Yep. No, it not basically. It is. Piece of crap.
that's my vote.
Yeah.
Greg?
I'm gonna have to go with Green Lantern.
That's not
Be a remake.
As kind of a reboot, and it's not very good.
No, there were no Green Lantern movies.
Maybe I just kind of hate that movie so much that I just want to.
We'll just
Bring
pretend
it up.
it happened and the comics are awesome.
Yes, the comics are awesome, and I love the character, but that movie made me cry.
I'm really torn here on what to say because one of the movies I want to say is Punisher Warzone.
No, but it's awesome.
It's so incredibly bad, but it's so incredibly awesome. It is one of my favorite bad movies ever. But my heart is telling me to say Man of Steel because of that god-awful treatment of the greatest hero of all time.
But Zack Snyder's such a good director for that.
But that movie was so full of hope.
No, it wasn't. And I'm not going
Hope,
to go to my
hope,
diatribe right
My
now.
chest
because
means hope. Hope, 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 hope.
Hope. Cynicism.
Shove hope right up my...
But
swear to
Zack
God,
had the best pocket.
Henry Cavill could have been a great Superman if that movie actually had a decent tone. Because after he puts on that suit and he still pulls off that character, it's just he is so downtrodden by the cynicism of that movie.
Yeah.
So I want to say Punisher Warzone, even because it's so incredibly terrible. But Man of Steel, it just hits too close to home. Jerry.
As much as I enjoy Andrew Garfield, I wish I could take him and put him in the original series and just continue making everything better.
So they should have just James Bonded it.
Yes, they should have James Bonded it.
Kyle, that seems to be getting a big no from you.
The original movie sucked in the story.
I like the first two. And I think
The first two are good.
I think Spider-Man 2.
They're about, no, everyone dies, it's not fun. They suck.
You not enjoy whiny face Spider-Man?
Kenny, why don't you tell us your favorite before Jerry and Kyle start yelling at each
All
other?
right. The one that I feel like should have never, and I've been thinking about it actually for a while, since we've already covered some other ones. Not really a reboot, but the main character was dead, so they had to find some way of bringing her back, and it's Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one continues to piss me off and just make me
I'm not going
irate.
to change my
But
answer.
Joss Whedon wrote it, and he directed Avengers.
You know, he wrote that script and almost pretty much went hands off from it and then they just took it and did whatever they wanted with it. So his involvement, technically, yes, he wrote the script, but no, he. What were you gonna say, Carl?
I kind of want to change my answer to Prometheus now, now that you reminded me of the franchise.
Ooh.
Prometheus did suck. Why ask the greatest questions of all time of who are we and where do we come from if you're going to say nothing?
Because my name's Damon Lindelof, that's why.
I'm going to be like, and pay attention to the next movie. We might have answers.
Yeah, and see Lost and The Leftovers for my responses. Oh, and Star Trek Into Darkness. That's why I hate Damon Lindelof.
Hey, wait. I have a better answer. I'm going to change my
All right. Jerry's going to change
He's a
it.
nice person. I just don't like his writing. I mean,
Not that it was a bad movie. It was a good movie. But Monsters University was unnecessary.
I love Monsters University.
It was good, but it wasn't necessary.
It was so good.
And was Toy Story 3 necessary? No.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
still
Yes.
clutched your heart when they were in the dumpster and you thought it was almost...
That scariest moment of my
That
cinematic
movie
lifetime.
made me cry. Okay.
I have never been more terrified than the moment that they're all descending into the pit of hell and the flames going up and they're all reaching for each other's hands. And it's just like, oh my God, they're going to die, they're going to die, they're going to die. And the Deus Ex Machina comes down and saves them. Just never been more terrified in a film in my life.
Yeah, same.
Well, all right. Thank you, everyone, for listening tonight. Once again, I'm Zach, the nerd with 1,000 opinions. Jerry, coolest white guy I know.
Or could you say coolest black guy? Or blackest white guy you know?
That's the same thing as saying coolest white guy.
I think we're going to get a call from the double NACP.
Well, no one cares.
It's the end of it.
We got the great galactic reformist Trevor Love.
That's why we're going
Great physician I know, Greg France, and of course the man who ruined X-Men 3 himself, Kyle Nelson, is in the house. Thank you for joining us, Nelson. Thank you for being here. All right, everyone, thanks for listening tonight. Tune in.
Jesus Christ, Kenny.
Whenever we get another one going. Good night.
Kenny!
Doing better. The black guy said it.
It's called the double A. Did you know that?
Am I now in it?
Double
I knew it as soon as it spit out. I was like, oh, crap.
I was trying to recover. I was just like, let's just keep going, keep going, keep